Hi everybody. We're again back at Simple, and I liked last week's show. I hope you liked it too. I think it came out nicely with the game board, the grid showing it laid out in larger scale. And today we're going to go back to the grid paper, but we got an interesting request, and the request was to go to page 188 in my book. I think the No Maintenance Perennial Garden. So she said, if you could go to page 188, I really like the look of that garden. Could you lay that out for me and let me see how I could do that? So I thought, you know what, that's a good idea. I'd like to try that. And so I've got pictures of all the plants. We'll look at all the plants individually, and a photo of the garden on page 188. And I thought I would just draw it out for you. I have the plants listed, and I have some options too. Because some of the plants, since I did the book 10 years ago, I'm not using as much anymore because of the conditions we have now in our heavy clay soils. Conditions are changing, and our frequency of rainfall. We have longer rain events where we might get 1 to 2 inches instead of half-inch rains. So with rain events changing slightly, I've switched some of the plants around, and I'll go over which plants those are, and we'll take a look at why did I do that and how much better it looks, because it creates another combination with 2 or 3 plants I can use instead of 1. So I started with the 2 questions, and the first question, let me read that, is when you create a plant community, do your thoughts discuss the care the planting will require year after year after year? Are you thinking about, when you create your plant community, what kind of care they're going to need? Not just the first year, but the second, third, fourth, fifth year and on, and what type of changes will take place that you might have to enhance maybe with other plants if you feel like it. And again, the question is, how do the plantings change after 5 years? So really, again, when you're designing, are you thinking about stewardship? The second question is, what plants do you consider filler plants? Salvia a filler plant? Is Coreopsis verticillata? It's good if you make a list of the plants you consider filler plants, and you can keep those next to you. So when you get to an architectural piece or a few architectural plants, like maybe veronicastrum, you can put some of your filler plants next to them for support if they lean a little bit, or for a mounding effort to run vertical through the veronicastrum if you feel like doing that. And can you describe five of those filler plants, and how do you define them as filler plants? They might be 3 feet tall, 24 inches tall. So what you need to do then, when you define them, that's creating in your own mind how those filler plants will work with your vertical architectural plants or grasses, and how you can drift different filler plants in between the architectural pieces. And again, it's easy to do it all on grid paper. And if you don't like it, you just erase it and use some other filler plants till you find something you're emotionally comfortable with. So those are the 2 questions. So let's start with the picture. Here's a photograph of page 188. And you can see I listed the plants that are within that planting. We have Ceslaria autumnalis, Allium summer beauty, Salvia East Friesland, and we have Achillea moonshine, Nepeta subsessilis, and Spiralis heterolepis, and Geranium wargrave pink. And that basically is the composition for this planting. So I'm going to go through and put those particular plants in, and the spacing, and I've got 2 areas. I put together 5 feet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 5 by 8 here, and the one above it is 5 by 8. So I actually have an area that's 10 by 8, and that will accommodate that particular layout of plants. So let's take a look. So at the bottom, and I have it marked S, Ceslaria autumnalis. So at the bottom I have Ceslaria, 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 and Ceslaria, and that's the corner of the planting. And then let me put this a little farther apart. And again, I refer back to the eraser. Put it, they're about 15 inches apart, sesslaria. And then we move on from there towards the other end of the bed. So I think I'm going to put another sesslaria and another sesslaria, which is out of view in the picture, and then one right here. So I have a corner of sesslaria, as you can see it, and then Allium Summer Beauty is in this far corner going in this direction. So I've got A, and there's the Summer Beauty. And above the Summer Beauty is the Salvia East Friesland. So Salvia East Friesland is a triangle. I'll put 1, 2, about 15 inches apart, roughly 15 inches apart, 2 there. And it looks like 2, I'm going to add 1 more up here, 3. And then as I move farther to the right, I've got the geranium Andresi Wargrave Pink. So I'm going to put 1, 15 inches here, G. And as I'm doing this, I always remind myself when I'm putting the plants in, I'm actually training myself to understand how these relationships are taking place, because as you're putting them down, you're thinking. You're realizing, okay, geranium with the sesslaria, how each one is going to relate to each other. And it's that over and over again practice on the grid paper that really is beneficial to your mind perceiving relationships, and then interpreting them, like I mentioned with the filler plants. When you have your list of filler plants, is that particular filler plant going to be too tall, too wide with the plants you're relating them to? So I'll move over here. I've got sesslaria here and here. And then next to the geranium, here I have Calamaris incisa. So here will be Calamaris, K here, you can see it on the photo. 2 of them here, Calamaris. And then off to the right are 2 salvia. And then above the salvia right here is the Aclea. I'll put a circle here. Let me move that over a little bit. Circle here and a circle here. That's the moonshine. And as I go over from the moonshine, I have Spiralis, SP. There's a little gap in the gardens as a whole, but the Spiralis follows behind it. SP, SP. And then we have some allium here. And then in the corner, I have more. Now I went off the grid a little bit, which you can do because I didn't give myself enough grid space to get the salvias in. So what can I do with the eraser? Instead of making it 5 feet, I can make it 7 feet. And I'm just increasing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm increasing it so I can fit the plants to the photograph. You might be able to play off of the 5 foot and just adapt to that as you're moving through there, maybe with some shrubs or some other grasses. But I'm trying to adapt to what the photograph has, and it has a row of salvias right up here. So that way I'll fill in with the salvia, as you see in the corner. And then up here is the more Spiralis. I've got SP, SP, and we'll put another one right here, SP. So you can see in the far left corner, I've got Spiralis. So what's missing? When I review this and look at the picture, wow, I forgot to put in the Nepeta. So I got the Nepeta, and you can see it in the far right corner, right above the Sesslaria. So I'm going to erase a couple sessilariae. I forgot all about the Nepeta in the photograph. So I'm going to put in one Nepeta subsessilis right here. And I'm going to add another Sporobolus right there. So I got the Nepeta subsessilis, Sporobolus, Allium Summer Beauty, Salvias Friesland, more Sporobolus here, some Allium Summer Beauty, more Sessilaria here. Sporobolus heterolepis here going into the corner. You can see on the far right the drift of Salvia East Friesland on top. And this gives me a chance now to review it. Look at the picture. What am I missing? I got the Calameris. I've got the Echolea terracota. So I'm looking at, I think I might want to move the Calameris up here. As I look at the picture, I see it drifting more this way. And I want to put the yarrow over here a little bit. I still have 15-inch spacing. And then I'm going to take out, let's see. No, I'm just going to add one more Sporobolus here. I'm actually going to crowd it together. But I can take the Sporobolus and crowd it together because I can put Sporobolus pot to pot if I want. So I'll make a bigger clump here, and it's not going to inhibit the growth of the plant. The two crowns will collide and grow into each other, and it'll create a bigger scale. So I'm just going to crowd them together right here, and maybe they'll be on 10-inch centers, but I want to fill this corner with Sporobolus. So I got 15-inch center, 10-inch center here. I look back, I have the Nepeta in, I've got the Echolea in, I've got the Calameris in. Then I'm looking and thinking, you know what? That Echolea moonshine yarrow hasn't been doing well lately because of the weather conditions. We're getting too much rain in the spring. The plants are rotting. They're getting set back by the heavy clay soil and too much rain in the spring, so the crowns are declining before they have a chance to grow. So instead, I'm going to use Echolea terracota. Terracota has a more forgiving nature. It can still rot if it gets too wet, but it has a more forgiving nature because it's a millefolium. It's one of the parents is Echolea millefolium, so it has a little better chance of going through the heavy spring rains, much better than moonshine does. So I can leave the triangle in, and there I'm going to put terracota, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move Calameris over a little bit. It's still 15-inch center, and in here I'm going to put some Asclepias tuberosa, and I'm going to put a little curlicue right here, and I'll put a little curlicue right here. Right? Am I doing the right thing? Nope. I screwed up. See, I got the yarrow, the salvia, the triangle is the salvia. And that's why I can erase it and make changes. And you can see if I didn't review that and then I rushed myself on some kind of time frame I have to be on. The more you work based on a time frame, the more your garden designs aren't going to be of much value. You can't do this on a time frame. You have to look at how you feel and how you are emotionally, because you're putting together living beings and you have to keep reviewing. So what I'm going to do is, I've got this hole here with the salvia. I'm going to put Asclepias here. I'm going to keep that Asclepias here, and I'm going to put the other yarrow back here, and I think I'm going to put between the Sporobolus, I think I'm going to put another Asclepias right here. And that'll come up in between the Sporobolus and the allium. So you have that nice group of orange, and you can see that on the photo as we move through. I've got the plants in order as we started, and you can see the Echolea with the Asclepias tuberosa, and you'll see how that color of terracotta, that light brick colored color, mixes well with the orange of the Asclepias tuberosa. And when you're laying it out, you might have a different feeling as you lay it out. This is just a guide of which direction you're going and number of plants you need. And when you get there, you might take that Asclepias tuberosa and you might move it over and put it in between the alliums. That might feel better for you, to have the the orange coming up as the allium flowers are fading. So again, the grid paper helps me kind of think about what direction I can go, what direction I think I'm going, what direction I can change spontaneously by erasing and reviewing. What did I forget? When I look at the picture, I realize I forgot the Nepeta subsessilis. And the other thing I'm doing, I'm not going to use Nepeta subsessilis. I'm using a new selection, Nepeta subsessilis Prelude Purple. That was introduced 4 or 5 years ago. It's a beautiful, dark, medium purple flower. The flowers are tighter. They're not as loose. And that's what I'm going to use in this particular case. Or when I think about it, I might stick with Nepeta subsessilis because maybe I need that looser look like you'll see in the picture. So again, I have an option. Do I want to stay tight, vertical? And that'll bloom after Salvia East Friesland is done blooming, so the purple prelude will give me a shot of purple. And then I might drift in a few purple prelude in other areas. I might take out one of the alliums, and maybe I'll put 2 purple preludes up here, Nepeta purple prelude. So again, I'm creating options for myself to enhance the design and look at different opportunities to rearrange the garden I did in 2009. But that basically follows the look of the garden from page 188. I've added other plants. And one more I might change. I might take out the geranium Wargrave Pink, and I might go for more durability with geranium Tiny Monster. And Tiny Monster is going to give me healthier foliage. It has beautiful copper foliage in the fall. It's going to give me a mounding plant with good clean green, dark green foliage. And Tiny Monster will bloom about a little later than Wargrave Pink, but have a more consistent bloom for a little longer. Not quite that much longer, but it's the architectural component of the plant that's going to look good, plus the fall color. When you look at the fall color, how that mingles in with the Ceslaria and the Salvia as you get rebloom on East Friesland starting in August. So that's it. It's pretty quick, right? But you take your time with this, and you can see I had 3 or 4 mistakes I just overlooked. And I can go back when I review, I can realize what I forgot, what I missed, make changes. And I can also look at what other plants I can introduce into the pattern. You don't have to stick with everything as you believe it to be. You can say, I really appreciated that garden, but boy, I'd sure like to get some Asclepias tuberosa in. And you can do that as long as you're considering drainage of the soil. If you know the soil is well drained, the Asclepias will probably do pretty good, and you'll get that nice hit of orange in between the few plants you can drift it through. So I hope this was helpful for everybody. And if you have questions, let me know. And I'd say keep the grid paper around and keep putting gardens together with you interacting with the plants how you believe they are. And then you can see how they respond when you put them in the garden and see what you have to move and why did you have to move that and what did you miss when you were laying them out with the grid. All right, thanks everybody. Have fun, and I'll talk to you soon.